Oh yeah, sure. No worries.
Hey, this is Mike Long, and I am really pleased and privileged to be here with Daniel Liu, and this is going to be a really cool interview. I know a lot about, I know bits and pieces, Daniel, from your past. Of course, your reputation now totally precedes you, but this is really cool to be doing this for our Good Guys series, for Commission Conspiracy, and you're at your new home. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I'm formally based here now in Australia. Up until, whenever I decide to go elsewhere, of course. But yeah, I am based here. I've been in Thailand for the past 7 years and traveling around the world, so to speak. You could say that, but more or less based over in Thailand for the past 7 years. So yeah, it's nice to be back at home. Breathing the nice fresh air and being close to the beach.
Yeah,
so,
we can hear a little bit of the ocean sound behind us, so that's really cool. Well, take us back. This is a biographical interview, and I'd like to know. Obviously, you've had great success recently. I believe in the last year you've built even 7 figures worth of sales in the last year, and so that's really extraordinary. Congratulations! But let's go all the way back. How did you get into internet marketing? What were you doing? What was the behind the scenes? What were you doing before that?
Sure. Well, going back in around 2004, I was actually an eBay seller. And I just sort of fell into that by chance because what happened was I was a car salesman actually over in UK. And what happened was I travelled over UK on a working visa. And that was going in 2004, and I stopped over in Thailand on the way to the UK. And so what happened was the month or so that I was in Thailand, I was really enjoying myself, buying all these nice clothes and whatnot, and well, just doing general shopping, I guess. And when I get over to UK, obviously I'm working as you normally would, and then eventually what happened was, I was looking for extra income, so I started to think, well, I've got all this awesome stuff that I bought in Thailand. I may as well see if I can get some money for it.
Sure.
So I just, as you would, I put it up on eBay, and before you knew it, I started making money. And then I thought, well, hang on, maybe I'll fly back to Thailand and pick up more gear, and
So walk me through that. That's kind of a funny transition. I myself began significantly on eBay, a little bit with SEO and a little bit with eBay, and I was doing it with games and stuff like that. For you, so you bought so much clothing, and it was just like very cheap clothing, like very cheap but good quality, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it was a variation of stuff. I mean, you have your branded stuff, you have your non-branded stuff.
Sure.
I did get involved with a bit of the branded stuff.
Oh, okay, sure, knockoffs.
Branded over there is not really branded.
Yeah.
but,
sure, but you were getting started. Like we all have our little things that we do as we're kind of coming along. There's some gray area here and there. What are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, it was a bit of fun and games at the time as well, and I did have my accounts get closed.
Oh no!
And, yeah, so I mean, I started scratching my head, thinking, what is it that I can do that will, enable my skill set to grow further? And what happened was I was a graphic designer going back 17, 18 odd years ago, and I carried those skills, if you like, to further gain into other areas. Because I mean, once my accounts got shut down, I thought, hang on, maybe I should get into web design or things like that, or the web in general. So I started to learn how to build sites, play around with a bit of HTML, and then I built my very first search engine in Thailand, which was called ThailandSearch.com.
You actually created a search engine in Thailand. Okay, so we obviously need to slow things down a little bit because you got going very quickly there right away. So okay, let's walk me through this. So the beginning of the story is you're going to the UK, you stop over in Thailand, you pick up some stuff, you go over to the UK, you sell some stuff off. Obviously, you make some of profit, and you're like, wow, I want to reinvest my profit. I want to start growing my business. So you go back to Thailand. It's lucrative enough that you can buy more items. You go back to the UK, you start selling stuff, but then you run into kind of your first kind of pit trap. And this is one of the things that happens when we're on our path. You know, this Good Guy series is about the path that successful people have taken, and the things that we've done. Because, you know, with internet marketing, we're always having to learn. We're always having to grow. There's not, you know, one magic, you know, pile of gold that we find and then that's it. You know, it's done. We're all rich. Even companies like Facebook and Google are constantly having to reinvent themselves on the large scale. So on the small scale, we have to do the same thing. So you run into this pit trap. I've had I've never had an eBay account banned, but I did have one situation where I had so many auctions get bad negative feedback from one person. Bought like 20 auctions from me, and they gave me all negative feedback, and suddenly it looked like I was a terrible seller. I was like, oh no, what do I do? And so I had to kind of scramble around and change things up. For you, it was getting an account shut down. How do you go from there to building a search engine? I mean, that seems like such a leap.
Well, it was, and I mean, I'm the sort of guy that when I like to do things, I do things big, and I've never really, you know, I don't know, I like to, you know, because, you know, I always believe in go big or go home, right? So then I thought, you know, if I'm going to build something, it may as well be something big and that everybody can benefit from. Mm-hmm. So I thought, and I noticed a little bit of a loophole in the market, or I should say, look, probably a better word, angle in the market, where people had businesses, but they weren't really getting out into the expat market. They weren't really looking beyond, you know, their own, perhaps even local, you know, or tourist area. So basically, I thought, you know, what better opportunity would it be to create an engine that's in English and in Thai, and everyone can benefit from. So, I mean, what I initially done was I thought I'll contact local businesses and get them into the engine and more or less the directory as such as well. And then I would optimize the directory listings to get on the first page of Google. Okay. And obviously, it was at that point in time where I was, you know, looking and learning how to do SEO myself to get those category listings up on the first page, so that if somebody types in, let's say, you know, Thailand Bangkok shopping or Thailand Bangkok electricians, that listing would come up in the engines. And, you know, it didn't actually take too much of an effort, only because it wasn't as competitive as what I thought. And so, but at the same time, certain categories were. And so, you know, I would continually expand my horizons, research more, implement more, research,
so now,
implement.
Was this a single website that was a directory?
Yeah, it was a directory. It was getting 1 million hits per month.
Oh my gosh, 1 million hits. Was that unique hits, or was that like a lot of people were coming and searching again and again? It
was page views. I was getting about 1,000 uniques a day. So it wasn't too bad at all. But
and those people that were coming were searching a lot. Then they're like the 1,000 people who were coming. It sounds like they were really surfing around. If you got all the way up to 1 million hits from 1,000 searchers, so that's pretty great.
Yeah. And like what I did was every listing, I got my programmer to implement a little feature where it said the number of hits that listing got. So then I could then turn around to that business owner and say, look, you know, this is your ad, this is how many hits you've got. Would you be interested in, you know, taking up our premium listings?
Yeah, you know, nowadays local has become really hot with SEO. Like now that there's more of an organized, systematized, like OMG style SEO available to people. And there's some other things that you can do with SEO for local. What was it like for you? I mean, this is all the way, at that point, this is 2005, 2006? What year was it that you were putting together this directory?
Yeah, it was around 2005, and 2004 was the transition period that I made going over there and living over there, and around 2005, sort of mid-2005 is the period in which I sort of established it more. And then what I did was, once I started to fill up the directory, and I had, over 1,000 businesses and
1,000 businesses. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, slow down. So tell me about getting your first business, because there's so many people that are watching right now just thinking, what if I could just get one client? Like how did you get your first client? Do you remember who your first client was?
Okay, before I get to that, what I did was as well, I hired a data entry guy, and I basically give them access to the admin so that they'd go around and find businesses through Google or whatnot and just place the listings within the directory manually. And then basically I would, go and contact the businesses that way. I'd have it. Eventually I had telesales people once it grew on. But getting to where your question was about the first business is, funnily enough, the first business was a chiropractor, and I actually was one of my customers, or I should say I was one of their customers.
Sure.
And because they do have chiropractic over in Thailand, and I was getting treatment, and I thought, what better opportunity would it be to ask my chiropractor if they need a website, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that was the very starting point. When I was upgrading the customers onto the listings, I would then also offer them web service, web design, SEO, things like that as well.
Yeah, we do something similar to this right now called our mini wiki jetpack, and the idea is it really becomes so simple if you can demonstrate to somebody, hey, I'm already on the net. Would you like to upgrade? Would you like even more traffic? Would you like even more visitors? So you made your first sale. How much was that sale for to your first chiropractor? Your first upsell there?
Yeah, I was charging $200 a listing, and for the actual website would be sort of $1,000.
Right.
And if they want SEO, that was really where I made the most amount of money, because I put them on a monthly, well, actually it was a yearly contract, but they pay me per month.
Right.
So if you calculate, and normally the basic charge for the entry point of SEO, sort of 3 key phrases, getting them on the first page of Google for 3 sets of key phrases, I'll generally charge $2,000 or $3,000 for the year. And if they pay per month, obviously it seems a lot more suitable and looks a lot better for them.
Yeah.
Yes, that they pay per month. But it would be all the way up to at least $10,000 SEO contracts.
So tell me about landing your first $10,000 SEO contract. I mean, that must have felt amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And a lot of the customers I was eventually finding were expats having businesses in Thailand. So people get a bit scared, how would it be not knowing the language and going over there and actually...
Oh, so you didn't speak Thai? You were doing all this and you didn't speak Thai?
No, not at all.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, my wife was Thai, but she really had her own thing going anyway. We used to have a shop in MBK, so she was selling, a lot of clothes to tourists and things. And so she didn't have any input in my business, really, to be honest. Okay. It was really me on my own. And so I would, find a couple of staff here and there contacting Thais for local businesses, and that worked out okay. But a majority of the clients were actually expats, so they had their own business and they were living in Thailand.
And were you making the most of those sales ultimately? Like, were you your #1 salesperson?
Well, I mean, I did have sales experience because, obviously when I worked in UK, I was a car salesman. And then, prior to that in Australia, I did, a bit of door-to-door sales, knocking, cold sales. So I was pretty good at, getting the leads in some respects, and I was using my own little tricks on how to, collect the leads and, gather a database of people to contact. And in fact, one of my tricks, if I'm allowed to give away little tricks here on the interview, is go ahead and, I'd find PPC listings, so people that were advertising Google AdWords, and for example, let's say dentists or dental clinics, I would basically go and contact, write up a little email myself in English, because most dental clinics anywhere in the world are going to speak English.
Okay.
So I'd basically just write out an email and to a specific dental clinic. Obviously, I'd find their AdWords campaign in Google Ads just on the right there at Google, and I'd contact them one by one. So yeah, that system used to work quite well.
That's great. So tell me about your first $10,000 client, because that must have been, you must have felt like king of the world. You come home to your wife, you're like, $10,000.
Yeah, that's right. It was pretty good. I mean, my first one actually was for the dating niche, so that was quite a good one. It was for a dating site that he basically wanted to establish in Thailand, and for expats to meet Thais.
Oh,
and
wow.
So basically he just said, look, I've got 10 grand. What can you do for me?
So did you contact him, or did he contact you?
He contacted me. So
How did he find out about you?
Well, through the search engines, because the other thing I was very good at was getting my own. After a certain point, obviously, I moved away from the directory as the foundation, and I created another site that was purely for targeting clients who wanted websites or SEO services.
Got it.
And that website at that point was called SEO2, the number 2, webdesign.com.
SEO2webdesign.com. Got it.
Yeah.
But, and what terms were you, and then you were using organic search to get clients?
That's right. I mean, I was on the first page, even top of, well, the first 3 for Bangkok SEO, Thailand SEO, and things like that.
Great.
And Thailand web design, Thailand, things like that.
So this guy, he calls you up and he says, "Hey, I've got an idea. I want to build a site. Can you do it for me?"
Exactly. Yeah. Now, at that point, after about a year of getting, very good solid clients and things, and having a lot of customers in the directory and paying the monthly fees, I was then able to, I felt, I guess, confident enough to contact one of my other clients who, he was actually, I was able to rank him very well in the search engines for, private jets, Asia, jet tours Asia, because he had his own private jet company.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and he was paying...
And now you're talking mass market terms here. I mean, that's big money.
I mean, this guy, really money wasn't an issue, because he was taking on corporate clients on private jet tours that were willing to spend, $50,000, $100,000 or more.
Crazy.
I mean, one of his clients was Bill Gates.
Oh, wow.
So, basically, I said to him, look, I've got an established directory, I've got quite a lot of clients, but I'm looking at expanding this, and I need an office, basically, and an infrastructure. And I suggested, look, would you be interested in partnering with me?
Okay.
And he already saw my passion and how good I was able to perform his own sites. And he said, sure, how much do you want? So I just put a figure out in the air, and I basically sold a majority of the shares of my directory, and then the business we went 50-50 on, and he set up the office, and basically we operated the office in Bangkok, ended up having 12 staff dedicated purely to telesales and customer
I'm
service.
sure everybody's wondering who's watching this. How much money? How much did you ask for?
Well, it was really only $50,000 at the time.
What
I
is
say,
that all? Just $50,000?
Yeah.
Just $50,000?
Exactly. Sound, whatever, but to some or most people, 50,000 is quite
huge. It's huge. No, I'm joking when I said just $50,000. Obviously, you must have felt like, again, if 10,000 made you feel like the king of the world, like you're like, man, I'm in the big leagues now. I mean, $50,000. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, it was good because it meant as well that I didn't sell all the shares completely, and I was left with 40%. So, basically, that was for the directory. And then over that next year, I was able to just scale it. And, when I was in an office environment, it was funny, we ended up having a lot more walk-in traffic as well. And so, I would be up in my little dome upstairs because it was a 3-story office. And I would be able to, manage everything from upstairs. If somebody walked in, I had a secretary, they'd say, somebody's downstairs, they want to know a bit about web design. So I'd walk down and, talk to them about web design, upgrade them to SEO, things like that. So it was a really good experience, and we were able to do very well in that year that I was there. We probably grossed about 350, almost 400,000.
Awesome! Wow.
Yeah, and that was just in my first year. And then
what year was that about at that point? Is that what, 2007 at that point? Ballpark, or do you remember what year that was?
Yeah, it was about 2007, 2008 even, because it was a couple of years after I had established Thailand Search and, my own clients and whatnot.
Right.
So yeah, and it just, it was amazing. It expanded exponentially. And then what happened, it was around 2008.
And one of the things I want to point to is that at this point, when you get to the multi-$100,000 a year, you've got so much wiring in your head from these incremental deals that you're making along the way, from that first deal with the chiropractor to your first big deal, your first $10,000 deal with the dating site, and then your deal with the private jet guy, and then you're always trading up. What you're doing is you're making a deal, fulfilling upon that deal, and then using that to trade up to the next level, and you're just kind of incrementally climbing your way up the chain.
That's right, yeah. And the funny thing is when you get to a certain point, if your business isn't being automated in a certain fashion, then there isn't really much room for you to grow. And so I was finding it difficult to, actually have more people like me.
Yeah.
Because
at that point you kind of hit the wall, and this is something I had this very similar experience to you, and this is one of the reasons why we do this Good Guys series, because I had the same experience, or very similar experience, actually going back and forth between America and Japan, and I was scaling my web operation and my eBay operation. I was selling Magic and Pokemon, but at the end of the day, I realize this now, even at the time I didn't realize this, at the end of the day I was a traveling salesperson. Yeah, I was a well-paid traveling salesperson, but I was a traveling sales guy, and you were like an office sales guy. We both kind of hit the wall where we were like, you know what? If I want to scale up, something's got to change.
Yeah, that's right. And so, yeah, that's pretty much, well, I would say half the story of what happened, but then also what happened was in 2009, because I had the business established for a little bit over a year, and then in 2009, when the economic crisis hit in America, it pretty much affected everyone globally. Okay. And so, all those clients I had, probably I would say 80 to 90% of them, just vanished.
Oh my gosh, it was that to that big of a degree. What a crisis. So there your business goes. and 80 to 90% of your customer database. And of course, with a business that has fixed cost, an office, employees, you know, mouths to feed, that's devastating. I mean, what a shock to the system.
That's right. And so I was really, again, in that point where I'm scratching my brain again, thinking,
yeah, it's like back to the day when your eBay account got canceled. You're like, oh my gosh, it's time for another comeback.
Exactly. It reminded me of, you know, 3 or 4 years prior to that, what happened, and I really needed to get back to the drawing board. And so what I was doing, as I was seeing the business kind of crumbling in front of my eyes, I thought, you know, let's learn about other aspects of the internet. There's got to be something a little bit bigger than just servicing clients.
Okay.
And I'd prefer to have something a little bit more automated. Okay, and it was similar to the eBay experience, where even though I made a lot of money very quickly off eBay, it was still not automated. It kind of was a situation where I had to pack the stock up, send it,
right.
Customer would get it, that sort of thing.
At the end of the day, there are certain limitations to what you're doing that were just...
Yeah. And so I thought, at the time, I was searching for bloggers, and because I was getting into blogging, and I was following what other people were doing, and there was one guy, obviously, well, there were two guys, Shoe Money and John Chow, and I was always checking out their blog, and I was thinking, this is interesting, and then I would actually question myself, you know, the fact that he'd be, you know, blogging so much, and why he would be blogging so much, and he was very consistent. And
when you say he, are you talking about Shoe Money, or are you talking about John Chow?
Well, I was veering off more to John Chow at that time, because he looked more consistent and looked like he was generating some real cash from his website. And I thought, well, this wouldn't be too hard to duplicate, in the sense that, you know, if I create a same personal site like him and talk about my experiences with SEO, with this, with that, yeah,
because at that point you realize, like, wow, you know, I really have something valuable here. You know, because you went through a several-year journey, going all the way back to, you began on eBay in 2004, was that right?
Yeah.
So at that point you got 4 years in the trenches, doing things that other people really haven't done. I mean, you got the experience with eBay at that point. You've got the experience with building like a local client directory, with scaling that out and doing client services, and then building that all the way up to like probably a pretty medium-sized, several $100,000 per year firm. And then you're saying to yourself, well, you know what? I've got that experience, and you know, the average ordinary person, this is going to be valuable to them. And you know, there's going to be some shift in the economy. You know, even if this current business model, like, obviously you realize that you could retrench and go out and get more customers, lower costs, do all that kind of stuff. But rather than do that, you were like, well, wait a second, why don't I sell information about this? Like, why don't I, like, I really have valuable experiences here. Why don't I package that up? I mean, is that somewhat what was going through the process in your head?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because I was finding that the information business, well, I should say info product business as a whole, was sending off alarm bells to me. Like, people were actually buying information on the internet, and I thought, hang on, maybe you can package things up, but more importantly...
Well, and at that point, you'd probably done well over $1 million worth of business online. So it's not like you're going from... Because it would have been one thing if you had that thought in 2004, but then in 2004, you'd have so many less transactions that you've done, so many less experiences, so many less nuances that you know, like all these hardwired experiences that you had. And I'm not saying that to intimidate somebody out of going into info products. I'm saying that it's worthwhile to note that you can go two angles. Like, yes, you could have gone into info earlier in 2004, but it's not like you would have leapt to the top like you did, because you had like a whole grounding of experiences. So my point is that there's kind of two paths, and you can kind of go back and forth between those two paths. It's very beneficial to also have that local experience. I don't want people to feel like, oh, well, I'm going to skip doing the whole local thing. Local's still very valuable even today.
Exactly, it is. And I'll really point out that if you can do all of them, I mean, that's amazing. Like if you can have your own offline business offering services to local businesses, if you can have your own affiliate marketing or information or product business, that's another thing. And yeah, it's really important to do both things if possible.
Yeah, they're very complementary, because your experience was that, like, obviously you began sort of heavy on the offline, and selling information was a brand new idea to you. So at that point, you probably needed to kind of catch up to speed with information marketing.
That's right. I mean, I do have and manage a select few of my elite customers, and so it's good when I get to a certain point, I can get to pick and choose the customers that I want to work with as well. And so, I can offer consulting, I can offer services where I offer the SEO, the social media, and even the bigger picture of conversions and collecting leads for particular customers.
And it is, it's so important, because like the way you were able to have those, like the reason your customers dropped off wasn't because of a Google update, it was because of an economic update. It was because cultural conditions shifting. But that's not to say, like, obviously you were able to keep those customers and to build that track record, not just getting them ranked, but helping their websites convert, which was a whole nother layer of experience that you gained. And again, I'm not saying this to intimidate anybody. This was stuff that you gained incrementally as you went along your path.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly right.
So what happened next? So you're watching. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So like I was going to say, even when I first started out with SEO, and although I was very good at it, one thing I didn't implement quick enough was setting up or capturing leads. Okay, and it wasn't until a year or two after I was already involved with it that I thought, hang on. Obviously, customers are still being able to convert sales okay by being on the first page for certain terms, but what if they could capture leads as well?
Yeah. So what year did you start doing list building? What was that, when you're still doing your SEO stuff, like in 2007, 2008, or what? Do you know roughly when you started doing email marketing?
That wasn't really up until around 2008, 2009.
So that's more when things are transitioning. That's more when things are starting to like the bubble is starting to burst. But one of the ways that you were able to like really stay afloat then was to which is smart. I mean, again, email marketing, so powerful. I just got contacted by a friend of mine all the way back from high school, and he picked up one of my introductory SEO courses, and he's been using it to build a list. And at this point, he told me last night that he made $300 while he slept. I mean, it's not huge money, but for him, it's life-changing.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things I always tell my students is, build your list from day one. Because if something happens, if you start to lose ranking, or if a Google algorithm affects your position, well, at least you've collected those leads in the meantime, and you've got something there to market to, for when it's a rainy day.
Well, yeah, I'd liken it to, I just started doing P90X, which is an exercise routine, and the second I started doing it, I was like, I got to stop eating bad food. I got to stop eating fast food, stuff like that. It's got to go, because it becomes so inefficient. It's like, why even work out? It's the same kind of thing. Like my point is that to my brain, it was literally undermining me to be eating fatty sandwiches or French fries, anything like that had to go, because it was so demotivating. It's the same thing. When you're building a list, it's motivating to do internet marketing. When you're not building a list, it feels like things are slipping through your fingers. It feels like the sand is slipping through your fingers.
That's right, yeah. And it's like leaving money on the table, like you say. I mean, when you're not covering all aspects. And that's why, when I even market products to my list, for example, on, the new whiz-bang list builder plugin, or the new theme that's just come out, it's actually for a reason, because, these things actually do help increase, your overall performance. I mean, you can't just have, if you want to win in a race, let's say in a drag race, with with your hotted up car. I mean, you're not going to win with your standard car, are you? You got to hot it up. You got to put the extra wheels on. You got to, you know, add some turbo.
Do the whole Fast and the Furious thing.
Exactly. So, you know, the more hotted up you are, the more chance you're going to get of, you know, collecting leads, you know, skyrocketing over your competitors, and you know, it's just going to really enhance.
I like that. I like that, hotted up. Okay, so you're watching John. So take us to 2009. You're watching John Chow, who actually, interestingly enough, I've never heard of. But you're watching this guy. He's got a blog, and you're like, man, this is cool. What step did you take next? Did you put up your own blog?
Yeah, I put up my own blog. So anybody who's interested, they can go and see it and check out my own blog, danlu.com.
danlu.com, great.
So you know, I was very involved with blogging, and what happened was, just by coincidence, and this was around the same time, I'll skip ahead in a little bit, but what happened was I was just posting as I normally would about my experience on things and how I saw the market, and you know, things that helped me or how I succeeded with general things on SEO or, you know, social media or anything.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, because you can still rank. The problem isn't the ranking. The problem is the economy in Thailand.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I was even visiting sites like SEObook.com, for example, right?
Right, sure.
And he had some really solid information there. Even SEO Moz had some pretty good information. Yeah. And so one day I found out that there was a listing, well, SEO Book posted a blog post about business.com promo code. And so what happened was I just basically thought, I kind of dissected, if you will, dissected why he would or how he did it and how he would benefit from posting such a listing.
Right.
And so I found out that he was using an affiliate banner, and so that each referral he got, he would get commission on.
Right.
And so I tried to work out which affiliate network he was registered with, and it turned out that he was registered with CJ.com.
Mission Junction,
and,
sure.
And so I thought, hang on, maybe I'll go and register with CJ.com as well, and see if they got the same offer and see if I can do similar thing to what he's done.
Right.
And it just happened that I did, and you know, changed my post around so it wasn't duplicate to his, and you know, obviously made it unique and whatnot. And eventually, what happened, if you typed in business.com promo code at that time, I was at the second above from him in Google, and that was like within, I don't know, a week or something.
That's funny. That's funny.
And so, yeah, basically, I didn't really expect much from it though, and in fact, I wasn't even paying that much attention up until I came back from Australia, because I just went to Australia to see if I could set up, or you know, around 2000 and late 2009, early 2010, once my business kind of went bust, I thought, how about I go back to Australia and see if I can establish and create more clients over in Australia.
Right.
And so that's exactly what I did, and I set up an office in the heart of city in Melbourne, and I was going around drumming up new business. And so what happened was, it didn't go down too well, to be honest, because I don't know if it was the Australian economy or what at the time as well that had been affected, but basically, in a nutshell, I wasn't able to drum up as much business as I thought.
Right.
So, you know, obviously, I wasn't too worried though. I had a few of my own other.
Well, and it also goes to show that part of your hardwiring at that point, as you're going along your path, is you start realizing that what matters is persistence. It's not getting lucky or quote unquote being right. Being right is being persistent, and just keep hammering on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You know something's eventually going to hit.
That's right. Yeah. So what eventually happened was, when I ended up going back to Thailand after spending a few months in Australia and seeing, oh, this didn't really pan out as what I expected to get, drum up new business. First thing I done was I checked my email when I got back to Thailand, and guess what? It said, "You've got commission." And I'm like, wow, this thing really does work. And so, you know, obviously I was always skeptical as well about affiliate marketing even, and as I was learning, it took me ages. It's probably a good 6 months till I saw any money at all.
Okay.
Maybe even longer actually, 6 to 9 months, you know, and then I thought, you know, I almost gave up on the affiliate marketing, because that was what I was starting to learn as I saw, you know, my own business crumble in front of my eyes in Thailand.
Right.
And so when I went back to Thailand and then I saw some commissions, I thought, wow, this really does work. And that's when I started to put my head down and not just concentrate on, well, I did concentrate on affiliate marketing a lot more, but then also the blogging, the creating informational products, and then even still offering local services,
right,
and then fucking them through in different
So
ways.
at that point, you're really taking advantage of the fact that it's all connected, and what you're doing is you're looking for the various low-hanging fruits and like assembling them together. So for instance, having an affiliate site can help impress a local client. That can, you know, that local client can give you information that you can then sell in some different way, and it all just kind of works together.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, in some situations, a lot of the listings, a lot of the sites that I created as well, you know, if the clients vanished, I would rent out those sites to other potential clients as well.
Right, sure.
Like I had one website called BangkokProperties.net, and you know, that basically I sold to and rented out in the beginning, but then eventually sold that one to someone else as well.
That's
but
nice.
I mean, yeah, it's really, I always stress that with local marketing, there's so much of an avenue there. That's why even when I teach my affiliate marketing and I create informational products, I always stress that, you know, local marketing is still very important, because you can capture leads and funnel them through into anything you want.
Oh yeah, yeah, and again, it's all like really realizing that it's all connected. Like, you know, it really increases our like in the internet marketing, we basically get paid for understanding things. We get paid for solving puzzles, and the more and better we can solve puzzles in today's day and age, the more we kind of zoom ahead. And the thing is, you might say, well, that sounds hard, but I mean, I think that like waiting tables is hard. I think that having a job that you might get fired from sounds hard. You know, that to me just sounds hard. I think that, you know, I read on a news site today that 800,000 Pentagon contractors in America might get laid off, depending on the government conditions. 800,000. You know, and I mean, are you worried about getting laid off, Daniel?
No, exactly. And that's one of the beauties about having your own internet business is you practically, and when people say it is true, you make money while you sleep. Yeah. You know, and you don't need to necessarily work those hard long hours and be told from your boss what to do when you don't have to. I mean, obviously if you're in your job and you're watching this video, that's still fine.
Absolutely.
But we're just suggesting that, you know, and I'm sure you're suggesting that, you know, as you're progressing, or even as you're working in your day job, perhaps even look into other types of ways you can make money online on the side.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you can generate a little bit of income on the side, after a while, all that really needs is, you know, a bit of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And scale that tenfold, and eventually you could probably even leave your daytime job. So
absolutely. What was your first product? You started talking about product creation. What was the first product that you put out, and what was that experience like? Your first info product? Yeah,
the first one in particular was Keyword Winner, and I launched that on ClickBank. That was around 2010.
Okay.
And what happened was I saw a way in the market which wasn't being tapped as far as optimizing keyword titles for your blog posts, because everybody was talking about, you know, optimizing the content on the post, but nobody was talking about the actual title of the post, the subject line of the post, and how to optimize that.
Right.
And so, because, you know, coming back from my experience when I was talking about, you know, ranking below SEObook.com for business.com promo code and getting commissions on that, because obviously people wanted to have listings in business.com as well. That was as important as Yellow Pages at the time.
Sure.
And so there was a huge market for it. And, you know, when I saw that, you know, it was very easy to rank a post just by using the same title as what he had done, but changed a little bit. And then, you know, obviously as well, I did use a little bit of the content in the title on the page itself to help reinforce the SEO efforts. But then I thought, hang on, maybe I could create a plugin that could help other SEOs or people trying to optimize their sites more efficiently using my plugin. So that's when I created Keyword Winner.
So now, how did you market that? So you created this plugin, and that had to do a bit with your tech expertise and stuff that you've built up over time. Some people watching this will have that. Some people watching this will still be a few steps away from that. That's fine. But ultimately, you have this product. How did you distribute it? How did you get people to buy it?
Well, this is the fantastic thing. And at this time, I didn't use any JVs or people to promote my product through affiliates at the time. Well, I did. I set up an affiliate program because it was set up on ClickBank. So
right, automatically. Yeah, but anybody can do that.
Yeah, but I didn't, like, you know, have a really big launch where I, you know, had contests and all that. I mean, I did have a smaller launch just for the elite few that were who were in my inner circle. And so how I created...
How did you have an inner circle? Were you starting to, like, network a little bit and talking to, like, other individuals, being like, hey, you know, and yeah. How did you meet those people?
Exactly. This is more or less how I created buzz, and how I would sell is I actually had my own inner circle of bloggers. Okay, and these bloggers were, you know, pretty well looked at. They had a good source of traffic to their own blogs.
And how did you meet them?
Well, basically, they would come and comment on my blog, and then I would go back and comment on their blog, and then eventually we just started talking, and we'd have a bit more of a relationship just from commenting on each other's blogs.
That's funny.
And so what I would find out was, you know, they had a pretty good Alexa rank, they had pretty good source of traffic, and I would contact the ones that had, you know, a bit more traffic than the other guys in terms of Alexa and so forth, and I'd say, look, would you be interested in, you know, adding my banner on your website?
Okay.
And obviously adding your banner with the affiliate link, and you get a commission.
Right.
And they were, yeah, cool, okay. And so basically that's how I was able to, you know, I guess create enough revenue or sales from the Keyword Winner product. But it wasn't really, at the time, it wasn't really something where I wanted to make a lot of money from. It was mainly to help people who I saw struggled in that area.
Yeah.
And then, you know, eventually it just did very well. And
how well did it do?
Well, we sold about 2,000 copies in the first. Yeah, just in the first 6 months. Like,
wow.
and
how much did the product cost?
Well, you mean like to purchase? Well, it's a 97 for the full license and 47 for the single license.
So if you sold 2,000 and it was a $100 product, then that's a lot of money.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you got to think of it as a customer's perspective too. If they invest like in that product.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. And of course it's a win-win, because now, and your customers did start having success. What was that like, getting your first testimonials from people being like, "Hey, I'm ranking websites using your software, using your plugin"?
Yeah, I got like testimonials from the top bloggers, even John Chow himself.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, like, you know, he was really at the time my mentor when it came to, you know, doing the things that he did. And then, you know, he was coming and, you know, giving me a bit of
praise.
And he thought this plugin was so cool, he was actually doing a testimonial on it himself.
That's crazy.
And an actual demo to his customers and everything. So
wow. So what did that feel like for you to see that? Like when you first saw that demo, I mean, were you kind of like, oh my gosh, this is amazing?
Yeah, I was blown out of the water because, you know, here he was like, you know, the guy that everybody looked up to, and then all of a sudden he's like doing a demo on this plugin that I built and saying he loves it, and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Well, all right. So at this point, you built a six-figure product because that's
yeah.
And so from there, now you've really got something because you've got your affiliate marketing, you've got product creation, and you still have clients. And at that point, you go back and forth between the like all those three things. And at that point, you also start building up a reputation naturally with other affiliates, and then you have a list that you can promote to more. And pretty much, I mean, long story short, that's how you go from, you know, eBay to a seven-figure business.
Yeah, and basically, so then I was creating more products, and then I would, you know, still be taking care of my own clients. I was building my own list and then creating money through email marketing as well. And so basically I was doing all three aspects and, you know, really doing very well from that. And yeah, what happened was just last year was my first seven-figure year.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was really like, that was the year of the dragon. And I know, I heard of a lot of stories where people, specifically internet marketers, did very well in 2012.
I sure did. That's great. Well, you know, I really appreciate that. You know, I really appreciate this interview. And nowadays, the funny thing is now you're helping other people get their start. It's, you know, one of the things that you do is, like, oftentimes people will come to you with a product and you'll help them launch it and help use the leverage of your brand and your affiliates and so forth. Now, one of the things I want everyone to know who's on this event, obviously you've gotten to know Daniel a little bit. We've placed a link below, and I highly recommend you visit it. Visit Daniel's site and you know, take a look at what it is that he's doing and what he's up to. You know, now that you know a little bit more about his journey, and one of the things I want you also to notice is how many things that, you know, even though you know, Daniel and I have talked, but we've talked business, we've, you know, done promotions together and gone back and forth, but how many similar thoughts that we have because we've traveled a similar path, and there's that similar path. It's available for you, not, you know, not just in 2004, not just in 2008, not just in 2010, but it's available right now. And you know, so I highly recommend you do that. Daniel, do you have any closing thoughts for individuals watching this event right now?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's starting out, or even if you've been in it for a while and you're doing okay, or even if you haven't seen any results, stick with it, because, you know, it will eventually, you will get to that point in time. It's just a matter of time. Sometimes, you know, it'll take a month, 2 months for people. Sometimes it can take a year. For me, like I said, you know, it took about 6 to 9 months before I actually, you know, saw some really good results with even affiliate marketing and that sort of aspect.
Well, and there were stretches. I mean, you went through the whole thing with eBay and going back and forth, and kind of soul searching with that, getting wiped out there, going in, you know.
My whole journey and my whole life story has been ups and downs continuously. So, I mean, you just got to have thick skin in this business. I mean, like going back in what was it? Probably 1993, almost 20 years ago. I mean, I was a graphic designer. So, I mean, I had a whole 10-year period when even the internet came out, that I had opportunity to buy domain names, let's say, right? Let's say realestate.com, or just some crazy generic names that I could have bought, but I missed the boat, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, you know, even though you missed the boat, still there's
always a new boat. There's always a new boat. Yeah. Like what you and I have is the skill. It's not so much that we know how to identify hidden caches of gold and treasure and diamonds that are already done and already finished. What we know is that there's new gold ore out there, new unrefined diamonds every single day, and we know how to refine them. We know how to tune them, how to list build, how to blog, how to connect the dots, how to do local marketing, how to do affiliate marketing, how to connect those dots and bring them together and refine them until we have finished gold in our hands, finished cash in our wallets. And that's something that anybody here that's available, that's what this path is about.
And you know, to some degree, things happen for a reason, okay? Not all the time, but for me in particular, I think it was a good thing for me not to buy and be, say, a wealthy guy from just buying domains and probably selling them at the time, because if I had I probably would have just been a lazy web guy buying, selling domains and not really expanding my horizons in other areas. And so when you think about it, because I've been able to expand my horizons and learn all aspects of internet and marketing, it's made me such a bigger person. And again, this is all very good learning curve for any listeners here who go down the same path as myself or Mike, because, you know, when you tackle all areas, you can succeed so much more long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm always learning. You know, today I was working on a new theme. I was trying to figure out how to install the Catalyst theme, and you know how that works and so forth. I mean, I know you wrestle with new things all the time. When you first saw OMG, you were like, oh wow, you know, maybe I get back into SEO, and this is really cool. I mean, like, we're always learning.
That's right. I mean, even I struggle sometimes with a simple WordPress theme on how to set this up or that up, and I start going a little bit crazy. But you know, really, but really, where there's a will, there's a way. Even if you get stuck on something, there's someone else out there that can help you as well. You don't have to do everything yourself, and that's probably one thing I'd like to stress to anyone who's listening is, you know, it's all about automation. If you can't get a software to automate something, then you find someone that can do it for you, or, you know, there's always going to be one way or the other you can get something done. And never always just, you know, rely on yourself to do things, because, you know, that is the hard way. Obviously, you don't want to be too lazy by outsourcing everything or doing too much automation.
Yeah, it's kind of a combination, right? Like we want to put our own elbow grease into things, but when you hit a hard wall, what you have to do is you have to say, well, there must be a better solution. You know, this site must be able to convert better somehow. There must be a better theme. There must be a way to build a list. There must be something different I can say. You just keep trying.
That's right. I mean, there's been so many times where, for example, back in the old days when I used to have classic cars, I used to collect classic cars. I'd have to take my car to the mechanic to get fixed. And there were so many times when I thought, wow, it'd be nice to be able to know how to fix that myself, you know,
right,
because I wouldn't have to, you know, rely on someone every time. And, you know, sometimes someone else is either too busy or, you know, they may cost an arm and a leg to get done.
And sometimes if you can just do the little repairs, then if you need somebody to consult and come in, I mean, you talked about HTML. I've got a grounding in HTML. I can do it. I'm not afraid of it. You know about graphics design. I do most of my own graphics design. Like, you know, it's kind of funny, but like ultimately somehow these things, they don't add up in a linear way. Somehow they add up in this multiplicative way where it's like, you know, time is money. Like, also, if you outsource everything in the world, you're spending all your time outsourcing. You're spending all your time looking for outsourcers. Whereas if you can acquire certain skills, certain softwares, themes, plugins, that, you know, oftentimes it's a balancing act between those two things. And of course, you have to learn, you know, how to keep costs down and so forth. Like, you know, but ultimately, and you might say to yourself, well, what's the balancing act? Well, that's one of the reasons why I've created this Good Guys series. So you get to meet these good guys and gals who have struck that balance, and you get to soak in what it is that they're doing, what Daniel did, what I did, you know, what another guy did, what Anthony Aries did, what, you know, Brad Ghost did, you know, what these different guys did on their path. And then, you know, like, you're getting to kind of network with us, you're getting to have a beer with us, hang out with us, and you soak it in.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, I really appreciate your valuable time once again. I highly recommend, there's a link below. Please visit Daniel's site and check his stuff out, and you've made a new friend today. Daniel, thank you so much for taking your valuable time today and meeting with me, meeting with the folks that watch this Commission Conspiracy event, and I will see you on the inside.
No worries. Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks.
Cheers.